Hi, it's Terry from the Quarter Acre, and today I wanted to talk to you about my top 5 tips for homeschooling and 5 things that you should avoid. So first I'm going to go through the tips. Number 1, teach subjects together when you can. So yes, your first grader and your 7th grader and your 3rd grader are not all going to be on the same English level or language arts level. That's a given. Same goes with math, but there are some subjects that you can teach together. For instance, I teach Spanish together, I teach science together, history is a together thing, health. There's lots of different things, PE, that you can do together, and that together time as a family is one of the big benefits of homeschooling. And you can meet everybody where they're at developmentally. So like for history, for example, my daughter has a coloring sheet that she's working on about the Ottoman Empire and when the Turks took it over, while my son is taking notes and writing dictations, and he'll have a full-fledged test at the end of the chapter where she will go ahead and write a 1-sentence summary of the chapter. So find curriculum and things like that that you can work with and really teach subjects together. Number 2 is different curriculum for different kids. The great thing about homeschool is you can totally customize your curriculum to your child's learning style. So the way that looks in our house is both of my kids use The Good and the Beautiful for language arts this year, but they use totally different math programs. My daughter is moving through the Master Books math curriculum, and my son is using Learn Math Fast. He was in public school from kindergarten all the way up through 6th grade. And now in 7th grade, we're looking back and seeing that there's a lot of places where he just kind of got dragged behind the bus. And he didn't grasp the concept, but the class moved on, and so they just kind of pulled him along with them. So we started back at the beginning of this year with addition and are rocketing through all those grades, and we'll be caught up to where he should be in 7th grade by the end of this school year. So that is perfect for him. For my daughter, she needs a slower approach. She's being introduced to these concepts for the first time in 1st grade, so we're going through Master Books, and she's doing phenomenal. And she's completed a math book and a half, so she's already in the middle of 2nd grade math, the level 2, and he's making up for all this lost time. So it's amazing that you can take the different learning styles and where they're at and meet them there and customize the curriculum for each child in their individual subjects. Number 3 is go outside. You don't have to stay in a seat like you do in school. They are not chained to their desks. And going outside could just be going outside the room you normally do homeschool in. If the weather is bad, instead of sitting around the dining room table, make a blanket fort in the living room and do your homeschooling in there. If the weather is nice, go sit out on the back porch. I know there's sometimes my son takes his creative writing assignments and goes and sits on the back porch and pets the dog and does his work and listens to the birds, and it's just really cool. They have the option of getting that fresh air or getting that change of scenery when they need it. And make sure that if they forget that, that's part of the unschooling, is to remind them that they do have options. Number 4 is get a good planner. So I use the Well Planned Gal planner. Find a planner that works for you, and it doesn't necessarily have to be to pre-plan things. A lot of times my planner gets filled out as we go. So yesterday I wasn't sure how far my daughter was going to get in her math book. Sometimes she does 1 lesson, sometimes she does 5 lessons, depending on her level of comfort with those lessons. So what I did is I wrote down what she did and left today blank. And then as we completed today, she did 2 lessons. I went ahead and filled it in. It's a great way for you to keep a record of where you're at in all the different subjects when you've got kids that move at different paces. The next one is, if the curriculum you're interested in offers an assessment, make sure that you take it. If I had a nickel for every time I went on my Homeschool Mom Facebook groups and the people were like, my kid was in 2nd grade last year in public school, so I bought the level 3, what I thought was 3rd grade language arts, and it's way over their head, or it's way too easy. What do I do? I would be rich. I could buy you all Starbucks. So find the assessments. Almost every curriculum out there has an assessment. If they don't, then I would be leery, or I would buy one book and see and make sure they have a good return policy, because you really never know. Each homeschool curriculum has kind of its own pacing, and so even if you've been homeschooling for years and you're switching curriculum, it could be level 2 in master books and level 2 in the good and the beautiful could be completely different. So make sure you're taking the assessments. Sometimes they're hard to find. Dig around the website, Google it. Where can I find the assessment, the online assessment for blank? And find it and stick to it. So you may have a kid who is super smart. I mean, they are just on it. They pick things up super quick, and they're in the 5th grade, and you give them the assessment and it puts them in level 2. And you're going, not my baby. My baby's not a 2nd grader or a level 2. I'm gonna get level 5 anyways because that's where they're at. It was just an off assessment. Now you gotta go with your gut, but at the same time, you don't want to provide potholes, and know that levels and public school grade levels are totally different. My kids are learning things in homeschool through their curriculums that will never be taught in public school. The heavy emphasis on phonics and the different diagramming sentences. These are things that just literally are not taught anymore, or at least not in the in-depth way that their current curriculum teaches them. Borrowing and carrying. My son learned regrouping and didn't ever really grasp the concept of borrowing and carrying because they were supposed to draw out circles in 10 frames and things like that. Whereas my daughter right now is learning borrowing and carrying, and it's a totally different approach. So make sure that you're using the assessments and that you are kind of respecting the assessments and realizing that it's going to help you meet your child where they're at, and that it's not a negative thing to be a few levels behind what their public school grade level was, because it's really like comparing apples and oranges. And now 5 things to avoid. Okay, number 1 is stop watching the clock. You don't have to change subjects every 45 minutes. You don't have to do your subjects in the same order every day. You don't have to be done by 10. You can shelve it and come back to it at dinner time. You can work in the morning. You can work in the afternoon. You can get all of your schooling done in about 3 hours if you want to, or you can stretch it out to 12 hours. You can homeschool 4 days a week. You can homeschool 5 days a week. Some weeks you can homeschool 7 days a week and then take 3 days off. You get to set your schedule, and you get to decide what is sufficient for the day. And you get to look at your kid and be like, oh, my kid has had enough of this subject. Let's move on and circle back tomorrow, or circle back later this afternoon after they've had a snack and their blood sugar is leveled out. So don't become a slave to the clock. Don't worry if your kids are getting their work done pretty fast. That's not a big deal as long as it's quality. So stop watching the clock. Second is, don't compare yourself to other homeschool moms. There are amazing, great communities out there full of homeschool moms. And sometimes I'm guilty. I'm like, look at this awesome Pinterest-worthy thing that I'm doing for science. We traced my daughter's body and we're putting all the different parts in, and it's wonderful. Some days are like that, and some days are, let's just get our workbook work done, and just it's just a bad day. We'll just chalk it up. You know, don't compare yourself to what other moms are doing, because everybody out there on YouTube, on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, we're all just showing our best selves, right? Nobody's showing the picture of them crying on the bathroom floor because their kid just can't get fractions, you know? So don't compare yourself to others. Number 3 is be prepared for the unexpected. So things happen. You wake up sick, another one of your children wakes up sick, and you've still got other kids that you need to homeschool. Have busy boxes set up. Have your planner filled out in a way, I color code mine so that they can look and see exactly what they need to do. Have activities and educational films. How many times in public school, did you watch a movie with a substitute or with a teacher? Have movies on cue that you've already searched up and found. Have YouTube videos locked and loaded and ready to go that are educational to fill in those gaps. Be prepared for the unexpected. Number 4, don't buy all the things. I am a curriculum junkie now. Like, I want to buy all the good curriculum. Pace yourself. And know that books, like as you can see, I love books. There's another bookshelf full of books there. There's books in my living room. There's books in the kids' bedrooms. We love books. But this year alone, we've already checked out enough books from our library that it would have cost us about $2,000 if we had bought those for ourselves. You don't need to buy all the books. Check out your local library. Right now, we can't go and browse our library, but we can go online and order books and then go and pick them up curbside, and it is amazing. I just picked up a stack of holiday books for the next upcoming holiday to go through and do read-alouds with the kids. So don't buy all the things. Check your library. Like, oh, for history, there was a CD set so that you could listen to it. They would read it to you. It would be kind of like a book on tape, but on CD. And oh my gosh, my library had it. That was like $60 to buy, but I was able to check it out from the library and renew it. Yeah, amazing. So number 5, the last thing to avoid is don't listen to other people's opinions. So one of the things that killed me when I first started considering homeschooling, because I knew that distance learning was not going to be a fit for my kids. They didn't do well at the end of last year with distance learning. It just didn't work for them, and so I knew I was going to have to homeschool, that it was beyond wanting to, which I did, but I had to. And so when I broke that to a family member, they were like, yeah, but you're not a teacher. You're not going to be able to teach your junior high kid. Like, yeah, the little one, because I do have a degree in early childhood education. So they weren't so much worried about my first grader, but they're like, you can't teach middle school. You can teach middle school. The curriculums are set up in such a way that you can, and there's other resources out there. So I have a friend of mine who used to be a math teacher, a middle school math teacher, and she is a stay-at-home mom now. And I've got her on retainer, so I have her prepaid for so many tutoring sessions throughout the year, so that when we hit a roadblock, which we haven't yet, there's not been anything we haven't been able to conquer yet, but when we hit that roadblock, my helper is just a phone call away. So I just want to if you get nothing else from this video, if all the other tips are things that you knew, just take this last don't listen to what other people have to say, because everyone has an opinion, and guess what? They all have their own realities as well. We are all a mishmash of our experiences, and so maybe they had a really bad experience. Maybe they met a really weird homeschool kid back in the 90s or the 80s that they were like, oh, that kid's weird, and they just associated that with homeschooling. Maybe they were homeschooled. My husband was homeschooled for a brief I think it was 3 years during his education, and he wasn't really homeschooled at all. He was just given a packet and left alone. And so that was not a great homeschool experience. He sees what we're doing now and he's like, wow, I wish I had something like this when I was a kid. So everybody has their own reality. Everybody has their own ideas about what homeschooling is and what it isn't. And it's different in every state. I mean, no two homeschool kids have the identical experience. The common thing that I have found is that a lot of elementary school, like public school kids, have the same experience of, I didn't get it, but the class moved on without me. And I love teachers. Teachers, you are amazing. I have so many friends who are public school teachers, and I admire you so much. You can only do so much with 30 kids in your class, you know, without some things falling through the cracks. It's just inevitable. But with 2 kids in my class, I can stop and I can pace it for them, and I can find other resources, and I can find other ways for them to learn. And so thank you for what you do, public school teachers, but for you new homeschool parents or you existing homeschool parents or people considering homeschool, just put what other people have to say out of your mind. You know, they're gonna have opinion on who you marry, they're gonna have opinion on who you hang out with, on what you wear, on what you ate for dinner last night. Everybody's got an opinion on everything, and now with the internet, oh man, you can share it everywhere. But don't let it get to you. Just say, thanks for your opinion. I will take that into consideration. And you can consider it or not. I hope that you found this helpful. I am really passionate about homeschooling since we began. And I just hope that if you have any questions, if you have anything you're curious about, if there's a curriculum that you would like me to review or a topic you would like me to touch on, please go ahead and leave that in the comments section below. I love to talk to you, and I love to hear what you're interested in, and I hope that I can help in some way. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, please, and make sure that you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future videos. I've got lots of stuff coming your way, and I just am really glad that you stopped by, and I hope that you have a great day. Take care.